you introduce. Hold on, my boobs are. Oh, there you go. Okay, I'm sorry. How on earth, guys, you introduce a guest like the one I'm having here today? I'm speechless. I don't even know my name. This is. Do we hear that? I think all of us, we know that. The Master John Williams, the master genius John Williams. Star Wars. Yeah. You can fade it down now, Gloria. It's all beautiful, but we can let that go. Now, you see Peter? Mm-hmm. Mr. Peter Mayhew here with me tonight, and Angie Mayhew. I am absolutely so happy to have you here, Bo. I tell you, when I met you at the convention last year, do you remember?
Yes.
I said, I'm going to go to them. I went with Charles Casano, and I'm going to bring him to my show. Do you remember?
Yes.
I was a little bit impatient.
Yes.
Right, Angie?
Yes.
A little too passionate. But I said, I'm going to have you in my show. And there it is. You're here.
Things happen.
Things happen. You don't know. I mean, when I was a little girl and I went to see Star Wars, I remember that I was, don't get jealous, Angie. I was in love with your husband.
Of course.
With Chewbacca. I couldn't get over him. My dad, you were an obsession to me. And I when I grew up, and I still kept watching Star Wars over and over and over, I said, my God, it will be lovely one day I can shake his paw. Okay, I'm nervous now. Look at this. You see this hand? I mean, we're not going to get a close-up because look at this hand. Look at this. Hold on, Peter. I want to make sure that we get the whole hand.
Whole hand.
Look at this. You see that? You see that hand, guys? This is it right here. There's no words to describe this. There's no words, there's no show, there's no introduction, there's no email, there's no website. Huh? This is it right here. But I'm going to cut it out. I'm going to shut up. This is your turn.
Yes.
Okay, I want to see how do we introduce this show. I was thinking last night, well, I would like to have the introduction. We covered the introduction already, right? I want to talk to Peter and Angie about your life growing up in England. If we can cover a little bit of that.
Sure.
And Star Wars, George Lucas, and all this wonderful cast. Alec Guinness, I'm a huge fan. Okay?
Yep.
And of course, what's going on now? This is the main subject today. But in all fairness, to my heart, because I love you both, I want to hear the background. I want to hear the beginning. Mr. Peter Mayhew, please.
Yep. No problem.
Talk to me about the beginning.
I grew up in London, England, post-war, and I was a big baby, a long baby. I always remember my mum telling me a story about the next bed to her was a preemie baby. So you can imagine, when the nurse brought us in, preemie baby was there, and I am down there. So you can imagine, 28 something, very long baby.
Yes.
A bit skinny, but soon got over that. Life was, as I say, life was okay. It was good in London. Grew up. My dad was a police officer, and so consequently, after latter end of the war, we got evacuated out of London because of the bombings that were still going on. And
you still remember that very clearly in your mind?
Yes.
Do you dream about it?
No.
It's gone.
It's part of history,
and part of history.
I know what I can think about, and thoroughly enjoyed it. All right, being away from London was a bit dramatic, but coming back and seeing everything, buildings in the cities were being rebuilt, and we grew up, as I say, in the suburbs. Then I moved up to Yorkshire many years later, and started to come across, thinking about what am I going to do? So a movie came along which was nothing to do with Star Wars, which was Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger with Ray Harryhausen and Sam Wanamaker. Did that, played the Minotaur.
The Minotaur. Oh,
the
God.
big character.
The big character.
And did it. Saw someone, people, all the technicians move from movie to movie. And someone had said, would you like to do more movies?
Oh.
I said, yes, I loved it. We finished that. 6 months later, I get a phone call. This is 20th Century Fox, who were the distributors. We're planning a movie called Star Wars. We would like you to come up and audition for one of the parts. Okay, we go up there. I walk into the office thinking, sit down, and I sit down and I look, and on one of the walls is all the characters. You've got Vader one end, you've got the main 4 in the middle, and Chewie on the other end. So I sit down, thinking, Chewie, yeah, that is possible, because they had put on the drawings, they put 8 foot plus blue eyes. Right. Blue eyes.
All the way.
All the way.
All the way.
So sit down, door opens, 2 people come in. One is George Lucas, the other is Gary Kurtz.
Oh man, I could.
So I did something which I've been grown up with. I stood up. George looked at me, turned around, shook hands, looked at Gary and said, I think we found him. And that basically was the interview.
Like that.
Yep. He
just
knew,
like that.
He knew what he wanted, and he knew what he could deal with, making that particular character the way it was. It didn't turn out exactly the way he wanted it. He thought it might be a little bit rougher, but once the intelligence was there, and after all, Chewie does know how to fly spacecraft and do all the mechanics on it. So it slightly changed the character, but it made it even better, I think. And because when we were talking about timing for shooting and stuff like this, the first unit was still in Tunisia with the desert stuff. We had to get the costume ready and to shoot on in around about 3 weeks. And anybody that deals with costumes know that is not a long time.
Right.
But we managed it, and my first shot was Docking Bay 94 with Harrison talking to Jabba. So
man, I'm listening to you, and I'm pinching myself, man. You see, I'm trying to be composed because I have a show, because I'm hosting the show. I'm trying to compose myself, but I can't. I'm listening. I'm listening to. This is real history. This is what really happened.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, the George Lucas, we know he's a genius. He's a visionary, but does he? I'm just wondering. He was aware of the magnitude of this film. You think he was aware back then?
I think he was, but he was aware also that film is very expensive.
Right.
And when you've got to work on a budget, you've got to cut out certain things, technical things that, as George says, I didn't make Star Wars on the completed on the first run, because there was so much other stuff that needed doing that was so expensive he couldn't do it.
Right.
You look at the computer animation for Episode 3. That wasn't available when we first started in '77. So it's only the computers and the digital stuff that makes it possible to do.
I wanted to ask, do you keep in touch with all of them?
Yes.
Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher.
Saw Carrie a couple of weeks ago. Mark as well, as well as all the English guys that were extras and characters.
And I remember that you talked to me in the convention about Alec Guinness. Can we talk
What
a little bit
man.
about him? What a master.
What a wonderful...
What do you remember
I
specifically about him?
remember him sitting there in the green room on set with a cup of tea and a newspaper talking about cricket, politics. He would talk about anything you wanted to do. He would come in completely dressed as Obi-Wan. He would go on set, he would be perfect, and if by any chance he did make a mistake, he would apologize to the crew, then go ahead and do it a second time, and it would be perfect. He was the perfection. Absolutely wonderful man, and it's one of those people that you had the honor to work with and be friendly with. Even now, I've got goosebumps.
Yeah, I just read his diary.
Yes.
And it's one of those like John Gielgud. I don't even want to keep going there. This is your show. This is your show. So I'm going to stop. But I get excited with British actors. Peter, look at me. I need to hold on. Let me sip quick.
Oh, secret.
Your life changed drastically after this
Totally.
film. Let's talk about that change. And this wonderful woman. How you guys met in the convention. I know that.
Well, it was a convention in Phoenix, Arizona.
And it was love at the first sight, Angie?
Pretty much, yes. But my girlfriend was actually hanging out with some of the actors, and I'm pretty shy and would never approach anybody or anything like that. So some of the actors had already chatted her up, okay? Let's just put it that way. She
You know what actors are.
Yeah, you know how actors are.
Actors.
And so she was having a conversation with some guys, and she called me over and introduced me to Peter, and I looked at him, and we talked for a little bit. You had someone else at the table with you and everything. But when I walked off to leave, he swatted me on the posterior.
Was it that one or was it that one?
Now that
was
is unforgettable.
That was it. Yes, of course.
And because I was a dealer, I set up at conventions around in the South and so forth, and Peter was coming over for conventions. We kept running into each other, but I could never get past the slap on the butt. And eventually, it worked out into something pretty wonderful. And you know what? He's a really good guy.
He is. He looks but you are a terrific woman too, Angie.
Yeah,
I mean, no reason to blush. It's no reason to blush. I mean, it takes two.
It does, yeah.
To make it work.
As one other dealer said at one of the first conventions, she walked away with the biggest 4-inch doll.
Action figure.
Action figure.
Action
I got the biggest collectible of all, I guess, didn't I?
So, yeah, and that was it. We got talking over the telephone and the computer, or not computer, but
on the telephone,
telephone.
We got married out of self-defense.
Yeah,
we couldn't afford the
couldn't
phone
afford
bill
the
from
phone bill.
England to Texas.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
It was, I've been on the phone for 20 minutes, I better get off. But
international phone calls were very expensive.
Right. Now,
then came over and we got married. We got married in Puerto Vallarta. And
since then, it's been a lot of work. It's a beautiful relationship. And
it has been.
You can see the love between you two.
Yeah.
You can see.
Yep.
But we changed the subject again. I want to go back to that moment when you knew, my life has changed. What's going to happen next?